All right, all right. Welcome back to part three of me attempting to get through this absolute atrocity slog of a debate with Sam Seder versus 20 MAGA. The first two parts I did while trying to also play Total War in hopes that that would stop the copyright claims. Shocker, no. Apparently, YouTube is a lot more on point than what I remember. They caught that shit immediately. Fortunately, Jubilee this time is allowing people to react to it. I guess they see that this is a pretty big moment for them to get some popularity, so has been claimed, but it is still allowed to be published. I imagine if I had monetization available, they would have claimed that, but I'm not even close to that stage yet, so you can go ahead and steal the tiny amount of nothing monetary stuff that you would have gotten. Whatever, you do you. So this time we're just going to be watching it straight up. I expect that this will hurt my spirit more so. Apparently the deeply disturbing woman will be coming on shortly. She's the one who went the most viral for being just outright racist, to my understanding, so we'll find out about that. Don't mind me, I'm eating quesadilla. I am desperate for sustenance. I expect to be in great pain.
It's not discrimination. It's based on your knowledge, not what you sleep with, not who you sleep with. Just saying.
Oh, here she is.
Sam.
So, I actually think that this liberal world order needs to be thrown away completely, and I think Christian nationalism would be a good alternative.
Okay, I see we're already going pretty hard. Again, lady, the claim is that unless you are a billionaire, religious fundamentalist, or xenophobic nationalist, voting for Trump was a mistake. You just got up here, hijacking the spotlight from the other compatriots in your group to argue Christian nationalism is good, actually. I get it, you're trying to promote your, what is she, with Rebel News, I think was the organization. I get it, you're trying to promote your shit, but, like, try and be a little bit more tactful.
What we're seeing right now is
And
just
congratulations.
and thank you. And yeah, I think what we're seeing right now is a culture of death. This is the most suicidal generation ever. We have millions of children dying by abortion.
Yeah, that lady's already like, no, we gotta get this lady out of here. Raising the flag that quickly. Here, hold on. I'm actually gonna move the camera. So I didn't really appreciate this super much on the first time. This is the first of this type of series I've seen. But so they have a flag voting system where they try to vote you out. That's happened a couple times. The fact that she's been up there for a whole of like 10 seconds and already has 2 people voting for her is bad optics. Bet you most of them agree with her takes, but again, this is about optics, and you are optically fucking it bad.
People aren't even reproducing. We don't even have like a.
Should we mandate people reproduce?
No, I don't think we need to mandate. We can just stop them from killing their kids. There
So
are like.
you want to outlaw abortion?
Yes.
Yes. I mean, we have.
Okay, well, I mean, at least you're being honest about it. You're still not fighting the point that Sam made, though. You're just agreeing with him, but from a hostile stance.
A fundamental disagreement on this, and my claim was that if you voted for Trump,
Finally, he's saying it. Oh my god. Like, I feel like he's been way too charitable so far. I'm not sure if he's mentioned it before and it's just been cut for, time length. I don't know how long this event actually took place. I know Jubilee has had some accusations of some shady editing in the past. I can't speak to the... Oh my god, it went up to 5 already. Okay.
it would be to your benefit if you want to outlaw
I think it would
abortion.
benefit. I think it would benefit everyone.
Yeah, I disagree. I think that that women should have the right to choose.
I think that it would benefit everyone to bring back the family unit, to stop having women just thrown.
What happened to the family unit? What are we talking about here? This is one of those, like, dumb dog whistles to where if you have, like, higher than room temperature IQ, you can see this from a mile away. conservatives have been claiming that the family has been in crisis for as long as the idea of the family existing has existed. Like, you can look at news reports, like, a decade ago, family is in crisis. Decade before that, family in crisis. 2 decades before that, the family is in crisis. Back during the Second World War, the family's in crisis. Just before the Second World War, the family's in crisis. There are, like, newspaper clippings from, like, the mid to early 19th century where it's talking about how the family is in crisis. What are you on about? Like, oh, it's something about this, like, ethno-nationalist, like, blood purity ideology that these conservatives have, where it's like this obsession with the family is meant to be like a microcosm of their idea of the nation. There was some Margaret Thatcher quote that kind of went that way too, to where she was saying something like, there's no society, there's just a bunch of family. Like, dumb shit. It's very telling how whenever they don't like anything, conservatives will immediately try to hit you in places where it hurts. Because they think like, oh, well, what do people find most important? The family. So if you make your claim and your argument around the idea that the issue is the family crumbling and then all of the rest of society's woes are just an outshooting of that family in crisis idea, they think that this is somehow going to work. When it's like, no, the family's not in crisis. It's the idea of a family is an incredibly fluid concept. This isn't like some idea that exists in nature that's not real. You can claim that your Bible says this, but the idea of even a biblical family is very different from that of what we have today. This like nuclear family concept is very recent. It's very American or kind of North American. It's not a thing that existed for a while. So this like calling to the past, I mean, it's just fascism. This like referencing the past in some like glorious way, like back when the family was strong. It's just fascism. It's not even being hidden well. Try harder. I could argue your stance better. You're media trained and you're coming on Jubilee and you're going to make this extremely weak ass argument for you being in favor of Christian nationalism when your job right now is to say why. It's like to counter Sam. Like, you're not countering his take. You're just agreeing with it and trying to promote your content, your grift. That's one of those things that frustrates me a lot about Jubilee is like so many of these right-wingers, and it tends to only be right-wingers. When they're brought onto these segments, they're all grifters. They all have some sort of blog or they're part of some sort of alternative media network, and they're all shady-ass grifters, and they got some sort of insider contacts with Jubilee, and they just come on as like a promotion. Like, sure, Sam is going to get a lot of promotion from this, but he actually believes in his cause. I don't think this woman believes in anything.
To the workforce.
Maybe we shouldn't allow women to choose to divorce unless their husbands say it's okay.
I mean, I don't really believe in divorce in general, so like.
Of course she doesn't. We'll see how long that lasts. Hey, lady, talk to Lauren Southern. Remember Lauren Southern, guys? How did that work out for her? This genre of American is one of the most annoying. The extremely, like, I don't know, cottagecore, tradcath, American blonde white woman who is, like, very opinionated about how she needs to be subjugated and does all of this talking about how she needs to be subjugated, but hasn't learned a lot of lessons about being silent and listening to a man. What's that about? It's almost like you don't actually believe this and you just know that idiots will pay you money for you to spout it. Interesting how that works.
Sure.
All right. I mean, this I think though reinforces my point that that if you are
But it would be better for society. It would be better for everybody in society. And same with xenophobic national. Like, what's the problem with xenophobic nationalism? Don't you think that's better for Americans in general?
Oh my God. This is the clip I saw on Reddit. Nazi shit. Like, we can keep pretending that this isn't Nazi shit. These people are neo-Nazis. They are neo-Nazis. You can pretend as much as you want, like, oh, it's not the same. It's not technically National Socialism from Germany. No, the general principle and mentality behind this argumentation is the exact same of principles and mentality behind the Nazi movement in Germany. It is one to one. And who do you think was the greatest inspiration on National Socialist Nazi principles around race and ethnicity? Eugenicists in the United States. That's how this started. Many of these ideas came from the United States, came from social Darwinism, came from segregation, and these concepts were then imported to places like Germany. And then they sort of did their own kind of mingling where they mixed in like the idea of like a German empire, Nordicism, like Odinism, paganism, all these like weird sort of hybrid syncretic beliefs, and comboed that with American eugenist style racist beliefs. And that's basically what spawned a Nazi movement in Germany. What we have here, what this woman is espousing, is the precursor to a new Nazism in the United States. There's no getting past that. You can pretend all you want that it's not the same, but it can happen here, and on the pace it's going, it will happen here. These people need to be ostracized from society. They are not fit to participate in a democracy. We're really getting into like the tolerance paradox, to where we need to stop letting these people participate. That moment right there should be enough to disbar her from coming on any platform. Unacceptable. How you would have the gall in this environment to go on such a big broadcast and say, what's wrong with racism actually? No, you need to lose your job. You need to lose everything you have. I'd be willing to allow you to, offer forgiveness. Like you could apologize. You could try to get better. But again, I don't believe that this woman believes what she's saying. She's just saying it because she knows that idiot loser right-winger young men are really into hot chicks who act like their idealized version of what they think a woman is supposed to be. I mean, as far as I'm concerned, it's fetish content. Somebody's got to say it. It comes off as fetish content. I don't think she believes this. You would have to... I mean, there are a lot of women who have a lot of internalized misogyny in the United States. But this level of boldness screams grift to me. It does not scream genuine to me.
To be xenophobic,
yes.
nationalism is better.
We should have a coherent culture. Everyone should be a part of the same culture. We should have assimilation.
Which, do you get to choose what the culture is?
We already have a dominant culture.
What is
based
the
on
dominant
European
culture?
and Christian values and identity. That is the dominant culture.
White,
it's
Christian,
rooted in European identity.
White.
Okay, but when have we cared about Europe? Again, like American nationalists are all like, hoorah, hoorah, fuck Europe, fuck the UK, fuck the EU. And then you constantly reference back to it because you don't care about it. It's just optically beneficial for your argument. You don't believe this shit. You don't know anything about it. I'm willing to bet you that most of these people, you could ask them to point to many of the different countries in Europe. I'm talking prominent ones. Like, point to Germany on a map. At least 7 out of 10 of them wouldn't be able to do it. You don't know shit. You know nothing. Insane. This has always been a dog whistle. It's been extremely obvious since day one. This has been a prominent dog whistle for upwards of 10 years now. This whole, like, Western civilization, European values, Judeo-Christian value. It's all just a pointless dog whistle. You're only fooling idiots.
So your argument is that
has been the dominant culture.
Just to be
and
clear.
we're not letting people assimilate to that. We're saying you should keep your culture, and this is why our culture's so divided.
Your argument is
Not allowing people to assimilate. What do you even mean by that? Like, what would you have be done? You don't care about assimilation. Tell that to all of the Haitians who came to the United States, became extremely hard workers, were valued in the community that they were a part of, and then your fucking president went ahead and made a racist rant, making shit up that was spread by an actual neo-Nazi. Yes, he is a member of a neo-Nazi organization who went to a town hall meeting and made up the whole they're eating the cats and dogs thing. And then the president says this in a debate, and a group of people that have been prominent in their community were now ostracized out of nowhere. This has nothing to do with assimilation. This has to do with racism. You guys are racist, and you're not doing a good job at hiding it.
Is that Trump is good for those who want a dominant white European culture.
I mean, that is what America is. It's rooted in European identity and Christian values. That's what it has been. Would you really disagree with that? What is it then, if that's not the identity of America?
Well, I think.
Yeah, so this is one of those to where, like, it's unfortunate to say, but, like, she's not necessarily wrong here. A lot of American history is rooted in those concepts. But that's one of those, like, just because it has been doesn't mean it needs to be. And nothing fundamentally in the Constitution would suggest it needs to be as such. A lot of people will point to references to God and the Declaration of Independence. And it's like, that's not an actual document. You know, that's not law. So, like, find anything in the Constitution that actually explicitly lays this out. It's just not going to be there. There'll be, like, old-timey racist shit. But this, like, obsession with, like, Christian identitarianism, no. If you want to be fair, you could say that, like, a lot of the separation of church and state ideas back when it was founded in the Constitution was far more in reference to, like, not discriminating between branches of Christianity rather than allowing other cultures from other religious practices. But if you cared that much about it, maybe you should have written it down. Sucks to suck. So yeah, there is a grain of truth in what she's saying, that America has historically been that way. But no shot we're going back now. That ship has sailed, and you bet your ass we're going to fight it.
The identity of America.
For the majority of time, America's been a country. You don't think that's been the identity?
Well, actually, no. I think actually the identity of America has been, you know, for better or for worse, a melting pot in that regard.
Yeah, maybe since like the 1960s. Even then, like even we had this idea of a melting pot literally means assimilation too. It means melting. It means you're assimilating to the dominant culture. Is that not what melting means?
No, it doesn't
and
mean
now
that
instead we're saying there's something
to
wrong
the
with xenophobia.
dominant culture. No, I mean, look, I got to be honest with you. Like, you and I have a fundamental disagreement. We will never see eye to eye on this. It's a choice, and people. I think what you're expressing.
I think she'd see eye to eye with it if she were making money to do so. Again, this lady's a grifter. I don't believe her for a second. It comes off as disingenuous.
Expressing, though, is really what the Trump movement at its heart is about. And I think that's problematic.
I disagree. I don't think Trump's like anywhere close to being a Christian nationalist. That's ridiculous. Like Trump's basically a
yeah, so that's one of those, like, again, Trump ain't Christian. He just uses Christians because they're stupid. Again, I'm not trying to be mean, but, like, the modern American conservative Christian is probably one of the least educated people in our population. Evangelicals specifically are so backwards in their thinking. They're so fundamentally unwilling to critically analyze anything, especially anything with nuance, to where he's able to, like, hold a Bible upside down and talk about how he loves Jesus and the Bible's his favorite book. Second favorite book is Art of the Deal. When asked about what his favorite verse is, he is incapable of giving any answer. Trump is not Christian. He doesn't believe in God. He doesn't believe in anything other than himself and power. There's no way you could convince me otherwise. And again, to Christians in America who voted for Trump, didn't it bother you that he didn't swear on the Bible when he became president? Were you not paying attention to him hovering his hand just a little bit above it? He didn't touch the Bible. Don't you care about that? For this supposed Christian leader for a Christian nation, shouldn't it matter that he did not do what is expected of him? That he wouldn't swear on the Bible? That he would protect the Constitution? Isn't that very funny? Or did you not actually ever care about the Constitution? And this has all just been LARP for you after all?
Democrat from like 15 years ago when it comes to social
So you don't think that he's conservative enough for you?
Oh, definitely. Nowhere close. No.
He's not xenophobic enough for you?
Yeah, again, that's one of those to where Trump leaves in nothing. I can't necessarily disagree with her there. Trump is just an opportunist. Even if your goal was to be a Christian nationalist neo-Nazi type like she is pretending to be, Trump is a useful idiot to you. He is a means to an end. He's not the best fit leader for it. He just happens to have a very dedicated base of idiots who tend themselves to be Christian, so it is strategically advantageous to pose as one. But he's not Christian. I don't even think he's particularly conservative. Again, I don't think Trump believes in anything. That's why he's all over the place on these stances. So yeah, he's not especially conservative because what's there to conserve? He believes in nothing.
No, he's trying to pour a bunch of H-1Bs. Are you kidding?
Right. Oh, so you want to get them out too? Yeah. No, I mean, I think you're making my argument for me.
All right.
Well,
okay.
I'm just saying he's not even in this. Okay.
You're gonna clap for that? That's such a good look for you.
My next claim is the GOP will destroy Social Security and health care. Nice to see you.
So, what if Social Security?
Yeah, so on that claim, of course they are. Duh. They're trying to do massive, massive cuts as we speak. They keep talking about how they don't plan to. They're going to do it. So, like, I work disability services, and disability services are so fundamentally reliant upon this sort of tandem combination between the, Medicare, Medicaid health plan system comboed with the Department of Education for getting, IEPs, individualized education programs. Like, it's what the Trump administration is doing with their cuts is likely going to make disability services as a career completely untenable. Completely untenable. There just will not be funding for it. There's basically already no funding. So if you know of a loved one or know of a friend or family member who has a child who's disabled, or they themselves are disabled in some way, you're fucked. You're cooked. If they cut these healthcare plans, if they, actually fully abolish the Department of Education, you are fucked. One of the clients who I work with, he's very intelligent, he's very smart, but he's highly unmotivated and incredibly manic. And so he gets a certain amount of respite hours that is allotted to him, where the government is basically paying for me via a company to do respite care services for this family. And this family are like very clearly not the brightest Trump supporter types. They're like, they pretend to be trad cath, but they themselves had a divorce, like those types. And they don't seem to grasp the idea that there's a solid chance that I'm not going to be able to take care of their son for very much longer because of the voting decisions that they and people like them made. They're so incapable of recognizing this sort of empathetic project that is a welfare state that they're willing to vote against it so long as it doesn't directly impact them. But then the moment it does impact them, then it's all of a sudden a problem. It is truly, fuck you, got mine, the economy. It is such a deeply selfish worldview. And unfortunately, they fucked around and they're soon going to have to find out. And it's going to come at the cost of their son struggling in schooling, struggling at home, struggling to integrate into society, because he's not going to be getting the accommodations he needs, and he sure as shit isn't getting them from his parents. So yeah, Trump will destroy these things, and it will have massive consequences. And I believe that the people who are going to be hurt the most by these consequences are going to be right-wing voters, because shocker, a lot of them are old as fuck, are either in retirement or coming towards retirement, and are starting to need to rely on state-funded healthcare in some manner. And that is not going to be an option for them in the future. I hope you like what you voted for. I try my best to empathize with these people, but you can only do so much. You voted against your best interests, and you did it because you hoped that it would hurt people who are marginalized. your selfishness, your greed, your racism, your bigotry, it's going to come back to bite you because of what you supported. And frankly, a lot of you deserve it. I'd like to see you get better. I'd like to move forward. But I expect a lot of you are going to have to hurt quite a bit before that can happen. Sucks to suck. We'll see how we all ride out the storm.
Should go away. That's my question to you.
Because Social Security keeps 2/3 of our elderly out of poverty. And not only does it keep our elderly out of poverty, it's essentially a social insurance program that protects you if at the end of your life you don't have enough money to survive.
For right now, do you know that it's also the albatross around our generation's neck?
No, it isn't.
Okay, so
Let me just explain this.
well, you're
Let me
gonna
explain
go
this to you.
back to lecturing
No,
me about Social
because-
Security.
Well,
we don't
that's
have.
what we're talking
we
about,
are,
Social
yeah,
Security.
Social Security is one of the top 3 funded.
Social Security is almost the biggest thing that our government does.
Exactly, and we are
it
more
keeps-
than.
Good. 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 I like having a country that can rely on its government to be able to protect and support them. Good.
$30 trillion in debt.
Well, first of all, Social Security cannot contribute legally to the deficit.
Because they don't even account it in the federal deficit
That's
every year.
correct.
We have
because
30
it's
years. We're
self-funding. When Social Security started in 1936, you have more workers than retirees because people haven't entered into retirement. By 1970, it was at 3.5 to 1. Now it's at 2.5 to 1. But productivity has increased during that time.
So I briefly saw video coverage from the Majority Report afterward. It was like a 5-minute clip. Supposedly Sam actually requested that they fact-checked him on that one. So I guess he like got part of the data a little bit wrong where he used the wrong year.
The amount of money paid into Social Security has been up there. The reason why we are running out of money just for the trust fund, not for Social Security. Like I say, if we do nothing with Social Security now, it is statutorily unable to contribute to the debt. The math is right there. The reason why the trust fund is running out is because wealth inequality has hoarded so much money above the cap.
You don't think it's because
So
the
if you-
government does a
no,
terrible job managing their money?
no,
They have a huge
not at
spending
all.
problem and they go, oh, look
No,
at all this money.
Yeah, so that is one of those, like, that can be true, but you're not arguing it in the right reason. The biggest issue with government spending remains military budget spending. For several years now, the Pentagon has told Congress, stop sending us so much money. We have too much fucking equipment that we do not have the room to store it anymore. But why do they keep sending money to the Pentagon? Because a lot of these people are in the pockets of lobbyists for the military-industrial process. Like that situation is what is bloating the economy quite a bit. We need to stop putting nearly as much money into the military as we are. And this isn't a matter of like not being able to protect ourselves. It's a matter of like we are hoarding resources and it's become an issue. One of those things that a lot of people don't appreciate is when you hear claims about the United States sending like billions and billions and billions of dollars of aid to places like Ukraine. We're not just sending them cash. We're sending them equipment that we've had stockpiled, some of which literally for decades. And it's being evaluated at that amount of money. Right, so we're not just like writing them a check and then they're cashing it and then they're buying the stuff. No, we are making deals to literally give them excess equipment. One of the most deeply disturbing sights I've ever seen is a few years back when I visited Tucson, Arizona, because I wanted to go to the Pima Air and Space Museum. And directly next to the Pima Air and Space Museum is, I believe, the largest airplane graveyard on Earth. It is thousands upon thousands upon thousands upon thousands of all in seemingly working order aircraft by the military sitting in the desert for indeterminate amounts of time. All just sitting there. You can look at Google Maps for it. Look up Pima Air and Space on Google Maps. Go a little bit to the northeast, I believe, and you'll just see this massive swath of area where it's just a fuckload of aircraft. And they were working when they were parked there. And they're just there because there's nothing to do with them. Each of these aircraft costs millions upon millions of dollars. Some of them are pushing into hundreds of millions of dollars. And they're just sitting in the desert. And so when we send equipment to these nations that we're aiding, be it Ukraine or disappointingly Israel, most of it's not just money. It's either contracts with American businesses, or it is literally us just offloading garbage to them. This is like the storage wars of foreign aid, you know, like cracking open a storage container and dumping out all this shit. So if you want to talk about wasteful spending, the military-industrial complex is the wasteful spending. It is a vicious cycle. It is a problem, and many of these companies that do this, you know, where the U.S. contracts with them, like think of even like a Boeing. Many of the aircraft that are purchased by the United States Air Force and Navy are from Boeing, and Boeing is shit. And they're allowed to be shit because they kind of operate a sort of like, they have enough sway over this military-industrial complex that they're able to still remain prominent enough despite spiraling ever into corporate bureaucratic collapse. So yeah, there's a problem with spending. The problem isn't Social Security and healthcare. It's not even close. It's not even remotely close.
We have for
this in
Social Security
1983.
that's earmarked for 60 years from now that we're just going to spend on something right now.
40 years ago, they predicted this. This is an actuarial table. Accountants sit there and look at it. This is a very easy math problem.
Accountants in the government are always right? That's totally the thing that you're saying? That they're always correct about money, right? That's why we have a $40 trillion debt problem.
The problem isn't the math with the 40 trillion debt problem. It's the you have tax
It's
cuts.
the spending problem. I totally agree with you, which I would argue is part
Yeah, well, tax cuts certainly don't help. Yeah. I wonder who benefits from these tax cuts. I wonder if there's like some sort of incentive there, and that this whole like deficit idea doesn't really matter to conservatives. You guys believe in nothing. You believe in nothing. You just make arguments to justify your core position, which is a selfish fuck you got mine attitude. You don't want to pay into Social Security because, ooh, it's my money, it's mine. I need it, ooh, it's mine. I need to hoard it, it's mine. You don't need it. You don't deserve it, it's mine. It's selfish. It's pathetic. You talk all about this nationalism, but you can't support your country. Again, the left needs to really get on American nationalism, but like in a new way. We need to fight them back where it hurts. They've been using these stupid talking points for decades at this point, and they never cared about it. We need to start calling it as it is. You people are liar fascists who only care about yourself. You've never cared about the country. You voted in a traitor. Donald Trump is a traitor. He has no business being in that office. If we had a competent former president in Joe Biden, he would have been arrested and barred from office. But no, he was too weak to make that happen. And now all these dumbasses get to come on here and ramble about nonsense about how they support an actual traitor to the United States and pretend to be patriotic, when all you want to do is hoard your money and it's all just a fuck you got mine world. Pathetic.
why Social Security's gone in the hole already.
That's simply not true.
Oh, okay. So we're out of money from the Social Security bucket.
No. Statutorily, by that I mean by law, Social Security pays for itself. If we do nothing, the 6.2% that your employer and your employee pays into it will pay out 78% of benefits starting in 2033.
And why is it going down? If everything's so much better, why is it only 78%?
If we raise the cap, there's a cap right now at $176,000. So for instance, if you make $100,000, you pay $6,200 into that.
A year,
but
yeah.
A year. But if you make $4 million, do you know how much money you pay into Social Security? $6,200.
And so why should wealthy people hang on?
Because they rape the economy, they steal money from the economy, they engage in shady business. Pay your fucking dues, assholes. There should not be billionaires. You have no business having that amount of money. Pay your fucking dues. You've made so much money off of the United States people, and using the United States as a hegemon for trade internationally. Pay your fucking dues. You don't have to rely on Social Security because of your exploitation. The least you could do is at least pretend like you care about the country. Pay your fucking dues.
Should wealthy people pay a higher percentage?
No, they should pay the same percentage. 6.2 on $400,000, 6.2 on $1 million.
And why should they pay even more money at all? Because they make more money? Again, you fundamentally...
Yes.
Yes. Pay your fucking dues. Stop being a selfish cunt. Pay your dues.
Fundamentally have this idea that because somebody... Okay, you have an idea that because somebody makes more money, that's fundamentally wrong, right?
No, I don't think it's fundamentally wrong. I think that they should pay more.
I pretty much do. I don't think that anybody should have more than $10 million personally. That number is obviously subject to change, but like $10 million is that point to where anything above that is having depreciating returns of your usefulness to society. You in an organization could have more than that amount of money. But as an individual, no shot. You don't need that much money. Stop being selfish. I hate this worldview. Why do you have to hoard wealth? Why do you have to be like a dragon sitting on top of your pile of gems? Why don't you contribute to society? You could help people. There are people in this country who make more money in a minute than many people do in months. And you could donate a tiny fraction of your amount of money that you make every month, and you could change the lives of thousands of people. But you choose not to because you are selfish and evil. Forego your money. See, now the thing with wealthy people, unlike with things like race or sexism, is you can choose to stop being wealthy. If you don't like all of these people ranting about how billionaires and the rich are ruining the country, stop being rich. You don't have to. You don't have to. Divest your money. But you're not gonna, because you don't care about the country. You care about yourself. Anyone claiming otherwise is a pretender. It's not even a particularly good ruse. And the part that makes it really funny about these kind of people is like, young conservatives have this idea that like, if I do enough dick sucking to rich people, maybe I'll be like them one day. And you're not gonna be. You're just some loser who is trying to defend a person who will never care about you. And Elon Musk is never going to care about you. Jeff Bezos will never care about you. You are just a pawn in their game, and you are a convenient idiot for their game.
More taxes into it. Now, I do think as a society, we should not allow billionaires. So, for instance,
they can pay more taxes generally, but why should
the
they?
highest tax rate
hang on.
and the greatest expansion of our economy in this
Does a
country?
billionaire get more money from Social Security if they went to go take it than I would?
No,
of course not.
Insurance.
So why should they pay more?
I'll tell you why. Because it is a social insurance program that keeps you from being in poverty when you're a senior. And the reason why I think billionaires should pay more taxes than other people, even a higher percentage, is because it works better for society. The greatest expansion we've had in this country in terms of economics and the least amount of wealth disparity was in the 40s and 50s and 60s in this country. Do you know what the top marginal rate was?
It was high.
Do you know what it was?
I don't know the exact number, but
if you made over $470,000 in 1955, every dollar you would make above that was taxed at 90%.
So I have a question.
Make America great again. You guys all want to go back down to this era. Make America great again, where the rich had to actually pay for things.
90 cents on every dollar was taxed above 470. So if we had in today's dollars,
which is wild, by the way. But
and it's also the greatest expansion we had.
Okay, so why did this say fact check? I'm pretty sure that's what Sam said. Was he off like a small percentage?
Of the economy.
Yeah, you can expand for a time, and then you see places. You see like Nordic countries that were like, oh, let's tax the hell out of our rich people, right? And then they go, whoops, we messed up. We can't actually live off of our terrible. We basically are able to.
What are you talking about? Like, oh yeah, the Nordic countries are having a lot of economic troubles right now. That's a thing you hear in the news. Not the United States, which is plummeting its stock market, plummeting all of the wages of families, plummeting every financial aspect that you can think of outside of, again, a small collective of individuals getting far, far richer from the pump and dump grift economy. What do you mean the Nordic countries are struggling? Like, what?
live off our economic boom that they had between like the 40s and the 90s, and then we have to revert all of that because we made a terrible choice and we were able to have a party for 50 years until we realized we ran through all the money that capitalism got us. So let me ask you real quick. So
us. Who's us? For being such an individualist, using us like this is really, really strange to me. Again, it's almost like you don't believe these things and you just think that you're going to get rich one day and it's convenient for you now to claim as such.
The average person, right? Right now, they fundamentally look at Social Security, young people like me, and they go, I'm going to have that money sitting, waiting for me when I retire. Since your opinion is whatever works best for the average person is better, wouldn't you rather shift towards something that I would agree with, which is getting people that are 19, 20 years old into funding their own retirement rather than relying on other people to fund it for them?
You're talking like the 401k.
Yeah, how are 401ks doing right now? I wonder how those are holding up. This is a side rant. Back in high school, I was a significantly more accelerationist doomer than I am now, and I'm pretty much an extreme accelerationist doomer as far as American politics right now. So it was worse then. And I took an economics class. And the guy who was teaching it was like obsessed with insisting like, oh, 401k this, IRA this, you need to put into these retirements. And I kept asking questions. I'm like, well, if it's based on the stock market, who's to say that that's not going to completely tumble and all of this money you've put in has been ostensibly gambled away? And he's like, oh, no, it's insured by the government. It's safe by the government. Okay, but what if the government is incapable of paying that or stops wanting to pay for that? And he kept being, oh, no, they would never do that. No, even do it. Like, you guys are gambling. You are gambling. A 401k is a gamble. It may be a safer gamble than other kinds of investments, but it is a gamble. And the idea of like you as a young person being told that you need to put this money in these institutions that are being, they describe these institutions like they're really recent. Like they'll talk about 401ks and IRAs as if this has been around for the entirety of time. And like, oh, this has worked for everybody. No, it hasn't. This shit's incredibly recent. This is like a couple decades at most. Yeah, there were equivalent ideas going back beyond that, but the idea of most people's retirements being funded by 401ks and IRAs is very recent and very flimsy. So no, why would you rely on this on yourself when all it takes is the government fucking you or not paying the amount they owe, or, bold idea, the president running the entire economy like a pump and dump, tanking the stock market, then having his cronies buy everything cheap and then cranking up the prices. That's what's happening right now. It's the only way that this could possibly make sense from a logistical standpoint. It is that this is a pump and dump scheme with the tariffs, or that Donald Trump is literally so senile and crazy and has so much power because of like dick riders and bootlickers that nobody's able to stop him. So no, I'm not going to contribute to your pump and dump. Yeah, buy insert meme coin. Like, as far as I'm concerned, 401ks at this point are just like grandpa's meme coin. This stuff is cooked. I'm not going to rely on this. I don't trust you guys with this. Other places on earth don't do this shit. Places have things like pensions still. You know, there are social security nets in other countries, and they tend not to be crying as much about the stock market. I wonder why that is.
Sure. Well, not just a 401k, but for IRAs, any other type of retirement. Would you agree? Would we agree with that?
Social Security was set up as part of a three-legged stool where back in the day, when I was a kid, we had defined benefit pensions.
Pensions.
You know how much money you would get out.
Yeah.
That all shifted in the 80s to define contribution.
Yeah, at least he's mentioned it. Again, this happened in the 80s. There was a little bit before it. It got a lot more popular towards the late 80s and 90s, but this idea that you have to contribute to one of these retirement plans is very recent. Very recent. Why do you have so much faith in this institution?
Where you know how much you put in. The 401k started during that Reagan era. It has been a disaster because the fact of the matter, for better or for worse, People just don't save in the way that you're talking about.
Why?
It would be nice if
Well,
they could.
if the
because
government-
It's really hard to save for things when you're operating paycheck to paycheck. Yeah, a lot of people who are paycheck to paycheck could choose not to be if they budgeted far better. That is a major concern. Budgeting is chaos right now. However, like, budgeting isn't everything when the price of all of your goods are going up, but you've had no increase in your wages in a long time. Wisconsin's minimum wage is still like $7.60 or something. It is incredibly low. Yeah, basically nobody's paying that amount, but the fact that that is on the books is really indicative of the fact that we are in a absolute tailspin decline economy. How are you going to invest in your retirement when you can't invest in your now? And frankly, one of my main issues behind like the doomerism excuse for why I've not contributed much to these programs either is I'm not confident the United States is going to exist for 10 more years, let alone 60. Why would I put so much of a gamble on such a long-term distant future consequence when every day we are bombarded with more and more information about how climate change is killing the planet? Countries are becoming more and more unstable. We are effectively in a second Cold War, like a weird-ass four-way Cold War. United States, Europe, Russia, and China. It's like this fuck dynamic. How would you possibly feel confident enough when you are strapped for money day to day to invest into a program that is gambling on an ever-dwindling stock market prospect that requires you to wait decades upon decades to see returns on when you could be spending that money now to survive? Crazy.
If the government were changing the mindset and actually pushing that cultural shift towards, we're not just going to hand you money when you're 65. You have to plan for it right now.
We've had a 40-year experiment with the government affecting the cultural mindset, and it failed.
We've had a 40-year experiment of everybody. You know what my parents say? Do you know what grandparents say? They go, "Well, I'm just waiting for my social security check to come in," rather than I have $800,000 waiting for me because I thought about it when I was 19 and 20 because I didn't have this grab bag of money waiting for me. You're assuming that young people
I try and tell my kids.
So we agree. So we agree. We should get rid of Social Security and phase it out. Well, so we should phase out. How would you listen to this idea? You phase out Social Security to where.
And again, remember when Republicans were saying that they weren't going to try to cut this? What is going on with this? Sam's claim is the GOP will destroy Social Security in healthcare, and this dumbass comes on here and says, "Yes." What are you doing? What are you doing? I get it. You have some sort of social media blog or whatnot that you need to promote, some sort of niche right-wing journalism thing that you've got to promote and you've got to show up here and do your talking points. You are fundamentally failing the task at hand.
People who have 5 years left before they retire get 100% of the benefits. And then people like me who have 40 years until we retire,
dude,
I'm not going to get it. I'm going to get screwed either way.
No,
you
you're
really
not.
think I'm going to get Social Security someday?
I guarantee you, at the very least, you're going to get 78% of your benefits.
That's awesome. I'll get 9,000.
Yeah, that's one of the, like, I don't... I have so little confidence in American institutions to where while I still think Social Security needs to remain, I have zero confidence I'm getting any money from that. Zero confidence at all. We should still try. We should still try to work with that. I have no confidence in what's going to happen a month from now. For all I know, we're going to be in actual like ground warfare with Canada a month from now because Donald Trump just unilaterally declares war and causes a constitutional crisis. So like, how can you plan or even think that you're going to receive this money decades into the future when I don't feel like we have a future a couple years into the future, at least not one that we were preparing for.
$1 a year, that's great.
In calling for our government to increase the cap, in fact, get rid of the cap, then your grandkids will get Social Security.
I would much rather, and again, maybe we'll just disagree, but I would much rather result to, hey, 20-year-olds, please save for your own retirement, invest for your own retirement, because the government is bad at dealing with money.
And what happens
Don't rely
if they
on them. What happens if what?
What happens if those 20-year-olds don't listen to you?
The same thing that happened.
Fuck you got mine. That's their stance. Sucks to suck. Go die outside then. That's what they believe. They believe that if it doesn't directly impact them, they want nothing to do with it. It is truly an evil, despicable ideology. Very Christ-like of you. These Christian nationalists are so Christ-like in their way of condemning the poor and the impoverished and the downtrodden. They really love them some Jesus. It'd be real nice if they read anything about him.
If a 20-year-old just doesn't go and get a job because I tell them to.
No.
They're going to have a problem, but that's not my fault.
No, I got news for you. It's not your fault, but there used to be in New York City 30,000 people sleeping on the Bowery.
No one in this room was alive before
Security.
Social Security. We've all lived under this, just like the
And it
income
has
tax.
been the most successful government program in the history of our government
Things that are
programs.
successful don't just start to die out and
It's
end up in
not
the
dying
They don't start to die out. They are actively being killed. This is not letting die or dying out. This is being killed. It is sabotage.
out.
It's the grab bag of money, the massive excess that was there in the early years because of the 42-to-1 beneficiary.
There wasn't a massive excess in 1936.
42-to-1
Dude,
is
that was
a
just
massive
because
excess.
there weren't that many people who had entered into the Social Security program.
And the fact that
In 1970, it was 3.5 workers to 1. Now it's 2.5, but productivity has increased it. I've told you why the Social Security Trust Fund is running out. It is because of wealth disparity. Billionaires hiding and hoarding their money above the cutoff line, which is 176,000. That's the cap. If you
hiding
remove
and
the cap,
hoarding their money.
your grandkids
Billionaires aren't keeping $2 billion under their mattress. They're investing it back into the...
they're just putting it into some stock market, or they're just looking.
Yeah, or they're putting it in some sort of island nation, foreign bank. They're not investing it back into the country. What are you talking about? Yeah, Elon Musk has put a lot of his money back into the country. Yeah, I guess if putting money into the country involves the entertainment of watching him destroy all of his businesses, I guess that is a kind of way of revitalizing the economy. It's certainly not what I would have preferred, but I mean, it can be entertaining to watch the Tesla prices go down. I'd love it if tax money wasn't being sent to his companies.
And what do you think a 401k or an IRA relies upon? It relies on the stock market.
Like, some of these people who have not had a chance to speak yet are, like, clearly getting frustrated. Like, what the fuck is going on? Like, everybody who comes up here is not actually challenging Sam. They're just agreeing with his stance, but arguing that it is good, actually.
And things like that.
A 401k relies on the stock market, and I knew people who were retiring in 2008 when the stock market tanked and they got screwed.
Well, that's a whole other problem.
No,
I would argue that's largely driven by the government being, once again, terrible with policy and creating bad economic hazards.
Social Security is there regardless of what happens with the stock market.
Okay, pause. You've been voted out by the majority. Please return to your seat.
Micah.
Hey, Micah.
Oh, do we got new blood in here? Okay, we got we have new faces, finally.
Sam, nice to meet you.
There's an idea that you have that basically government can kind of fix all these problems, right? If you didn't save for retirement, well, then the government can just come in, swoop in, and save you from
Well,
that.
not swoop in. It starts on literally the day you get your Social Security.
Sure. It swoops in once you retire, right? Once you can.
Well, you pay
once you
into
can,
it.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, I mean, it's not swooping in. Again, you're paying into it. This is a reciprocal relationship here.
And so you believe this idea, basically, that government is an effective organization, which it does time and time again, if you look at history, that's proven to not be true.
Because it's being actively sabotaged by rich people. Notice every time that government policies and like actual organization is heavily throttled, it's being throttled because it's being cut by billionaires, by lobbyists, by Reaganite types. Okay, yeah, it's one of those, like, you say the government doesn't work, but it's like, no shit, it doesn't work because you've spent your entire political career sabotaging it. Duh. That's how that works. That's how that happens.
When you're hitting at retirement, you don't know. This is an insurance program. That's it. It's an insurance program, and it basically says you're insured against eating cat food when you're 65. And it works. It works.
No, it doesn't. You should have, well, one, you should have your own personal.
How doesn't it work?
How doesn't it work?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, we've already discussed the details of how it is just completely failing as a program. Like,
How? Elaborate. You guys like to say a lot of shit, but you don't like to back up a lot of shit. How is it failing? It's fully possible it is, but I'd like to see you demonstrate it.
How is it failing?
because I'm not going to receive any Social
No,
Security
I've already
benefit.
told you right
I know.
now.
I'm not going to rehash out that debate.
Well,
the main
go look at the
issue.
numbers. You've just been told this, and you know why you've been told it? Is because they want to raid it to give tax cuts to rich people. That's why.
So are you saying there are the Trump tax cuts?
I love how like upset and disgruntled these 20-somethings who are not billionaires are getting really disgruntled on behalf of billionaires who don't care about them. Daddy Elon Musk is not going to pick you to be his special little boy. I don't know what you think is going to happen here. You dick riding is not going to save you.
Only for rich people. You're saying
No,
people.
I'm not saying they're
Yeah,
only
Elon Musk won't even save his own children. You think he's going to save you?
for rich.
Oh,
They
okay.
were-
Then how could
rich
they
people
only?
benefited more from it than low-income people. And I would
And
say,
what do you mean benefited more from that? Because we already went over the
'cause
percentage
they
numbers,
don't
and we
need
know
the
that's
money.
not true.
They don't need the money as much, and they don't need it.
What are you talking about?
They don't need it.
Rich people are the people that are investing in smaller businesses. These are the people that are giving up.
What smaller businesses? Are we talking venture capital here? Yeah, how many really, really good venture capital projects have you seen recently? It's all of these scams. They're just all fucking scams. Oh, this video is killing my spirit, man. We're cooked. We're absolutely cooked.
Other people jobs to allow them to provide for their family.
Okay, pause.
These
Pause.
Wow, he got offed quickly. Holy shit. 1 minute and 53 seconds. Looking good, Chief.
I go for it.
What's up? Hey. Good to be back.
Nice to see you.
Okay, yeah, nice to see you too. I want to zoom out a little bit.
Okay.
So obviously you're
All right, place your bets now. Place your bets. Is he going to actually contest Sam's claim, or is he going to immediately begin to explain why Sam is correct and it's a good thing that they're destroying Social Security and healthcare?
pinpointing on Social Security, and there's a reason for that.
And healthcare too.
Oh, okay, but
Yeah,
Social
notice how they've not
Security
really
is
covered healthcare.
Is the program that you're very concerned about, and that or like
Medicare. I'd love a Medicare for all program, but go ahead.
Yeah, so I think the reason you're focusing in on Social Security precisely is because Social Security is the most successful in a shadow of social welfare programs and government spending. That it's like the Democrats.
It's also the biggest bucket
Sure,
of money.
it
that
is the biggest
government's
bucket, but the
biggest thing.
Democrats have these social programs and this deficit spending, and it just never ends. It's never enough money. So you're focusing on Social Security because it is the one successful child, but you're ignoring all the social welfare state that we've become.
Social
70%,
Security and
well,
Medicare and Medicaid make up
the majority.
over like a
Right, so
third of
70% of our federal spending is mandatory. And that, you're right, it's Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid, interest on debt. 8% of we're paying for that. So the Democrats run on this, essentially they want a welfare state. So yes, Social Security might.
Sure. I don't think they're doing a very good job at it. Democrats don't want anything. Again, Democrats are shit. Let's not pretend that the Democratic Party actually wants welfare state. They just want the optics of looking as though they're going to help the people, but really still take money from big business. Joe Biden had many opportunities to push through some sort of better Medicare expansion. He had so many different opportunities to increase the welfare state. He really didn't. He did some decent stuff for unions that's going to get completely overturned by Trump. He did some decent stuff for some worker groups, some stuff with the student loans, but like how much of that is going to stick? You should have jailed Trump when you had the chance, but you chose not to because you're weak. And now here we are having to listen to these dumb fucks again who are now like empowered.
Help a lot of people, but it's like we're closer to a welfare state than we've ever been. 38% of the GDP in the U.S. is government spending. That's the highest since World War II. So us conservatives, we're trying to tell you, like, you guys are fiscally...
Okay, let's see. Peaked at 40%. Okay, so it's not like you got the data off a little bit, but like the general principle he's trying to explain is accurate. I don't care. You know, like GDP is one of those, like, it's kind of meaningless. It's just like a vague way to describe the productivity of a country. Okay, if the United States is generating a lot of the GDP as an entity, I don't really care. It doesn't bother me. It's whether the lives of the people in the country are improved or not, and right now they're getting increasingly worse.
Really
So are you worried
irresponsible.
about the tax cuts and what that does to the debt and deficit?
The tax cuts increased revenue.
No.
Yes.
I want to tell you about Kansas.
Okay, tell me about Kansas.
Sam Brown back in 2012 brought in Arthur Laffer. You know the Laffer curve, right?
The Laffer curve, yeah.
The argument that if you cut taxes, you're going to get more revenue.
And that's exactly what happened.
Kansas.
No, that's exactly what happened
It
in TCJ.
destroyed Kansas.
Okay, Kansas enacted tax and spending cuts in 2012 and 2013. Brownback argued that this fiscal potion is a weird phrase, would generate an explosion of economic growth, but overall growth and job creation in Kansas underperformed both the national economy and neighboring states. It's almost like it doesn't help the economy or something. It's almost like tax cuts don't actually benefit the economy. It benefits a couple people. Interesting. Who would have thunk it? Shocker.
By 2016,
Let's
a
look at the
Republican
numbers.
legislature raised taxes again. They destroyed their education
Reality
system.
is against you, my friend.
Look up
The num- the-
Kansas.
the
In
numbers-
fact,
the numbers
during
say
the Trump administration, they sent Sam Brown back. They made him the ambassador to faith because they didn't want this guy
If
around
you
because
want
it
to
was
tax
a
the
disaster.
rich, you should vote Republican because they pay more in taxes under Republican. It was the same.
A citation needed. Are you crazy? Bro, what are you cooking?
It went
Reagan,
down.
it
Look
was
at
the same on
Kansas.
Trump.
Look at
Look at the
Kansas.
U.S. Look at the
Look
U.S.
at
We
Kansas.
have the numbers
It
for
was
this.
the perfect
Obama's
experiment.
best year,
It destroyed
federal income
Kansas.
revenue, is pales in comparison to Trump's worst year. Do you get what I'm saying? Does more taxes necessarily equate to more revenue?
Yes.
No, that's where you're wrong. So if you look at TCJA, and I'll say the numbers again, the top 1% paid more into the system. GDP grew, wages grew 3% year over year under TCJA. So when you're saying tax the rich, like,
But you're
it sounds
saying,
like you're actually a Republican. You just don't know it yet.
You're confusing causation with
No, I'm not.
correlation
No, I'm
because Obama's economic recovery was way too slow, and I agree with you on
Way
that.
too slow.
Way too slow.
When you have tons of stimulus, what you're doing is you're creating the Great Depression for the bottom 90%. All the assets inflate. So who does that benefit? Your policies benefit the 1%.
No,
Inflation
no.
disproportionately benefits the 1%. It's an immoral tax on the poor.
Listen,
and that's exactly what happens when they
COVID
stimulate.
inflation was not a function of monetary stimulus.
It absolutely
No.
was. They
No.
increased the money supply by
No.
$6 trillion,
No, I
man.
understand they did that. I understand they did that, and they could pull it back on taxes with the wealthy if they wanted to.
You can't
You're making an
tax-
argument
you
for
don't-
higher taxation.
Okay, do you think taxing people makes the country wealthier? Is that what you think?
Does it make the country
Do
wealthier?
taxes make us wealthy? Is that government increasing taxes? Are we now more wealthy? Do you think that?
Yeah, well, so this is like one of the main issues here. Why are we so obsessed with wealth? Wealth is not the end-all be-all. It is a means to an end. The end should be sustainability and general happiness for the citizenry. Wealth doesn't mean shit if it gets worse for everybody who doesn't have wealth. This is a stupid-ass argument.
The only way you create wealth is by producing.
If you tax and spend, government stimulus can, yes, increase GDP, of course.
Is GDP wealth?
Is GDP wealth?
If we import 10 million immigrants and our GDP goes up, are we now wealthier? If the
Not
housing
necessarily.
costs more, if CPI goes up because there's more people.
I understand you, and inflation is
basic
under
economics.
control, and we haven't pulled that money off the table.
Right, but I'm just saying that what
Inflation is back
Look,
is
the
back
welfare
down because
state-
we had a problem.
the welfare
with
state makes us all
logistics.
poorer.
No,
Yes, it
doesn't.
does. And you can see
It doesn't. We
across
have
history.
if you compare,
People want to
if you
come here for
compare-
economic opportunity. We don't want handouts. We want opportunity. That's why as an immigrant,
What opportunity? What opportunity? I have so many opportunities. Yeah, my college degree that everybody insisted I needed to get has done so much for me. I've done everything correctly. Got good grades. Went to college. Got out of college with good grades. Haven't been able to find fuck all job actually using my degree. There are no opportunities. Half of these job postings you find are fake. They're just meant to boost numbers. There's a lot of data to suggest this. If you don't have years and years and years of experience, you're not going to make any money. If you want to find a job that's local to rural areas, like I live in extremely rural Wisconsin, you're either driving 45 minutes or you're doing part-time or some sort of bootleg job that gives you no healthcare benefits. What opportunity? What opportunity? What are you talking about?
That's why my family came here. We left the socialist paradise. It's garbage. The people that come here want economic opportunity, and you're stifling that. You're undermining capitalism and the free markets with your utopian vision.
There is no free market.
Well, there's not anymore.
No,
Yeah, what free market? The President of the United States is trying to push Tesla. What the fuck is free about that? There is no such thing as a free market. It is a delusion. You could try to make the markets as free as you'd like, but all it takes is a couple strong entities steamrolling over small ones, and if you don't have any guardrails in place, it'll stop being free market very fucking fast. We've not been a free market in a hot minute. Frankly, I don't think we've ever been even close to what you would consider to be a free market, because we went from being a very protectionist, more mercantilist state back when the country was founded, and then became a sort of like hyper-capitalist shithole in the Gilded Age where, yeah, a lot of GDP was generated, but the lives of the average citizenry was absolute dog shit. Then we moved into kind of semi-liberal protectionism in the mid-20th century, and now we're back to just late-stage capitalist shithole. What's free about that? The free markets are like Santa. It's something you tell children, but the moment you actually spend any time thinking about it, you realize that it is a childish fantasy. And you're the one being duped by it. Grow the fuck up.
Used to be.
No.
That is what makes America the greatest. That's what makes the great. America is the greatest economy in the world because of the free market.
The greatest
free market capital.
So this was recorded, like, according to Sam, this is recorded back in January. I'd be curious to see what his stance is on this one now.
The greatest economy America had was when we had 90% tax.
That's not true. The numbers are against you.
1940, 1950, 1960, the highest top marginal tax rate was 90%.
So what happened in the 70s?
And we
when
had,
Milton Friedman predicted stagflation in the 70s with your social welfare.
we had OPEC. We had an oil shock that drove inflation way up, and that was a function of OPEC. But in the 1940s, 1950s, and 1960s, highest top marginal tax rate was 90%. We had wealth inequality shrink. We had something called the Great Compression, and more people enjoyed.
Post-World War II industrial revolution. We were producing more than every other country. It's because we were producing more than every other country. That's what creates wealth.
And we
production.
were doing that with a 90% tax rate on the wealth.
Yeah, so if we were able to produce so much back then, and we had that high of a tax rate, what's the issue then? Where's the problem here?
Which was less when
90%.
Reagan came in and brought it down, the top 1% paid more. Can you believe that?
No.
Do you know that federal income tax? Wait. You know federal income tax? It was when it was established.
You're talking about the Laffer curve, and I'm telling you to go look at
here's my last claim.
Kansas.
When federal income tax in 1913, when it was established, was only targeted at the people making $100,000 and over. Now we don't even know, most people don't even know that. It's just a base tax. Why? Because the projections that they had of taxing the rich didn't work out like they thought. Because it doesn't work out. There's a ton of loopholes. The rich are smart. Like the rich people are smart.
The rich people are, buddy. Elon Musk is not going to give you free shit. You can fellatio him as much as you want. He's not going to give you free shit. Rich people are not smart. They just happen to be there at the right time at the right place. Many of them are fucking like Nepo babies. Oh my god. Elon Musk is like the most affluent, like room temperature IQ individual on earth, and you're going to talk about how rich people are smart. Dude has created nothing but despair. All he's done is aped off of other people's shit. He is smart at one thing, and that is bullshitting dumber people than him and bullshitting people who are so arrogant that they don't recognize that they're being conned. That's the only thing he's good at. That's the only thing he's smart at.
So focus
Our
on
top
producing.
marginal rate still produced an effective tax rate that is
It was
double what
lower,
it is today.
it was
50%
More
effective
taxes
tax
does
rate.
not create more wealth.
Yes.
More taxes
Well,
do not
I
create.
don't know what you mean
how-
by wealth. I mean,
Wealth is very
And again, we don't need more wealth. We need wealth distribution. We don't need more. We need it to be more balanced. This obsession with wealth generation is deranged.
simple. It's
more-
production of goods and services.
more
That's what wealth
taxes-
is. That's
more
what creates
taxes-
wealth. Money. People think money is
more
wealth.
taxes
Money buys wealth.
creates
Money
less wealth inequality, and then you have wealth that is shared by more people rather than being in the hands of a plutocracy or a plutonomy, and then you
shouldn't-
get stuff like an
Look,
oligarchy
We've
like
seen
we
what
have
happens
today.
when you punish your top producers over and over again. They leave. They stop producing. The government, the cap.
I'd be okay with Elon Musk leaving. Go back to your country, asshole. Go. This is one of those, like, I'm so spiteful at these types for all of the years of their horrible nonsense. I want to bring back the phrase "go back to Africa," but to, like, just for Elon Musk specifically, because it'll piss him off. So yeah, I want our top producers like Elon Musk to go back to Africa. Go back to where your kind came from.
Capital
undermining-
flight's a myth.
No, it isn't. You cripple the economy. Guess what happens next?
Wait. When did this happen in the country? When we had a 90%
It
tax
happens in every
rate,
socialist
did
country.
people-
This is the socialist playbook.
This is
They're like,
not
they
a
come
so-
in and they're like, guys,
This is not a socialist country, and I'm not calling for socialism to have higher tax
it
rates.
is more socialist
We
than
could-
ever before.
No,
we have
it's-
more.
What does this guy think socialism means? Socialism, when thing bad.
More social welfare spending.
No.
GDP. I'll say it again. 38% of government spending of GDP is government spending. We have more social welfare programs. And look at what happens. But how come we have all these programs and the black community is still living in poverty? How
What
come?
programs are you talking about that are geared towards the black community? We during in 2021.
What do you mean, what programs?
We expended. Hold on. In 2021.
What do you mean? What
hold on,
program?
hold on, hold on,
How
hold on,
much
hold on
money
one
is
second.
enough?
In
When is it enough?
2021,
You have the
in
richest country in the
2021,
world.
We
I just
offered
can't.
$300.
The way you guys think is
Excuse me.
just insane to me. Like
In
you have
20,
the
let me just
richest-
finish this.
All right, go
in
ahead.
2021, we extended the.
Yeah, like, it's almost like the idea of people caring about other people is just like a foreign concept to you kind. How do you reconcile with these? They are dangerous. These people are dangerous. How would you possibly reconcile with them? It's like they're so confident when they're up on top, and then the moment that they get fucked over, then they're like crying for help, bitch moaning and complaining. Again, all of these Republican states get so much more federal funding for, boosting their economies. Red states constantly struggle with this. They constantly beg for disaster relief. They do all of these things. They have no issue taking help when they want it, but they have no issue preventing other people for getting help when they need it. So yeah, how do you reconcile with somebody so fundamentally selfish? You guys are just going to have to fuck around and find out. Like, this generation needs to be taught strife at this point. The younger so I would say the younger half of the millennial generation and Gen Z, we've been privileged for too long. You fail to understand what life could be like. Your privilege is getting in the way of your rational thinking. You're voting for people who will make your life worse. And unfortunately, I think you're going to have to learn the hard way. It's going to hurt a lot of people along the way, but I don't see any solution forward when you are living in a different reality. It's like these people need to just like go live in the fucking forest. Like, if you're so obsessed with like you having everything and you not wanting to support anybody else, go live in a fucking forest alone. Have your little weird ass cult in the forest. Just don't involve me in your weird I can't. I can't. This is killing me. This video has taken years off of my life. Which is going to kill me worse? The existential depression from this video and my absolute lack of hope for the future in this generation, or the microplastics in my blood? Maybe the microplastics is doing this. Do you think? Do you think it's the microplastics or the Teflon? Right, so like we already know that lead causes brain damage and makes you dumber and more irrational, and that's why the boomers are so fucked up. Is the microplastics what's getting us, where it just like bricks your brain in a particular way if you have enough of it in your body?
Child tax credit, which is basically a payment, $300 per social welfare.
Yes.
We cut child poverty in 1 year by 45%. By 45%, but because no Republican would join the Democrats, and Kristen Sinema and Joe Manchin voted against this provision in Build Back. I'm talking 2021. From 2021 to 2022, we cut child poverty in this country by 45%. Look it up.
I feel like when I look at it,
I guarantee you, I will give you my phone number. You call me, and if I was wrong.
All right, we'll call.
I'll do it off camera. And you will see that we cut child poverty in a year by 45%.
I'll look into your claim.
All right, guys.
All right. Anyway, we'll talk after.
My next claim is Trump's policies make the rich richer and the work.
Okay, so I'm going to stop this segment here. This one has already gone on for an hour and 15 minutes. I can feel my spirit dying. I'm not sure if I can record another one today. Like, this is genuinely breaking my will. Oh my God, we're cooked. We are absolutely cooked. And again, do note that basically nobody has countered what Sam has said. No one. I think like, I'm 1 minute and 5. What was the first question?
Conservatives don't have any.
Trump's attack on DEI hides his real goal, which is to give corporations more power. Some people kind of contested that, but in a way that was very roundabout and unusual. But otherwise, with all the other questions, they've not challenged him. They've just gone and said, yeah, that. I imagine they're gonna challenge him more on the next upcoming question about making the rich richer and the poor poorer, because these are likely not particularly affluent individuals. Some of them are, influencers. Some of them have these right-wing grift networks that they're a part of, but like, they're certainly not wealthy enough to receive enough benefits from the Trump situation, unless they're, like a Dave Rubin type, or they're receiving millions of dollars from Russia through shady intermediaries and then pretend like it's not obviously from Russia. All right, well, that's it for this one. Oof.